sister Margie got married. She married a young man from Missouri. They were real good people. He felt like he was a little better than we hillbillies.
Stop.
But anyway, he had two younger brothers that really liked to come down here. One of them really enjoyed hunting and doing things outdoors, and the other one had polio, but didn't really, he didn't have a bad leg or a bad arm, but it affected physically. And he liked to fish. They liked to come down here. So I think it was probably the first year after Margie got married, they came down and brought his two brothers with them on the 4th of July. And we went down to the river there where the White Hole launching ramp is. Well, at that time, that good road going down through there didn't exist. There was just an old wagon road went through the woods and all. And I mean, there was a good farm down there, but it was just a wagon road, or a truck could haul logs out there for stuff or something. So naturally, we had to go to the river with a wagon to a team of mules. Of course, my mom she was very adept at such a good picnic thing to take to the river. So of course, we went swimming and played around in the creek or the river and all that stuff there where that launching ramp is now. There's a nice gravel bar there. Anyway, they had brought some fireworks with them, the campfires. And they wasn't huge rockets like those last night, but they went pretty high up there and exploded. It was the first time I'd ever seen them. So after dark, well, they set them off, and it was really something to me that I'd never seen it. They enjoyed, But when all the fireworks started, the mules, of course, they was tied to the wagon with a halter and a rope. That spooked them. They just flew back and broke the halter and went back to the barn. So we had to walk all the way from the river all the way back up to the house in the dark.
Oh no.
It was good.
That's awesome. And how old were you?
Probably about 12. See, the sister next to me was 8 years older than me, and Margie, the twin,
I picked up
10
an
years older
alligator.
than me, and my oldest brother
Mom,
was
look, I picked up an
a little
alligator.
more than, there's a little more
Why,
than 2
I'm
years
an
difference between
alligator.
me and the twins' age,
Why,
I
I'm
was
an
a
alligator.
lot younger
Give me a burger.
than the two older brothers.
That's neat that you remember that.
You think about walking all the way up through that on the old wagon road up through there. It didn't bother us, but
Nowadays.
who would want to do that
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, that's a long ways.
Well, I told,
Especially in the dark.
yeah, my mom wasn't any better than anyone else, but she was much more knowledgeable about medicine and taking care of physically and all that. Well, there was a family, the farmhouse for that farm at that time was when you go down that hill just before the road forks, one goes to the farmhouse set right out there, about 50 yards out in what would be the woods now, and there was a barn, of course, and they had a good well and everything. But the Mears family lived there. They were sharecroppers for the White family, and there was, I don't know, just 5 different kids. Mrs. Mears gave birth to another kid,
This is the
and
new
with no doctor present. I don't know who all was, what did you call a woman that's
A midwife?
is that what you call them? Anyway, my mom would go down there and long afternoon and help Mrs. Mears with the baby and clean house, and my mom would cook a meal for her, evening meal, supper. And then she would walk from there back to the house in the dark. And I went with her many times. You know, I was pretty small.
Nowadays you can't even get Briar to go out to the car in the dark.
What?
Yeah, but just think walking that hell. My mom didn't have a flashlight. We didn't even have a flashlight. Had a kerosene lantern when we went to the barn to do chores before daylight in the morning, and hang a kerosene lantern up in the barn and to see how to milk the cows.
Tell us the story. I always think it's interesting how about your dad cut 100 ricks.
50 cents a rick and delivered in a wagon and team.
What year was that?
Well, it was before I started to school, because Marvin and George, of course, they'd be in the short days in the winter. Hell, it'd be dark when they got off the school bus, so they built up a so-called bonfire, and they had one of those crossbucks, we called it, where you put a log on it. And well, my mom and dad would cut those long, keen red oaks down with a crosscut saw, and my dad would trim them up with an axe, and they'd drag the logs up there in front of the house. And then when Marvin and George got off school, well, they would cut it up into wood lengths, and split it with an axe, and you'd throw a rick on a wagon and take it to town that was $50 big.
So it'd be about 1937, 1938.
Well, let's see, I was born in 34. It was before I started school. I know that because I remember it real well. And I remember seeing Long John Thompson hack cross ties with a broad axe there in front of our house, because the timber on the old home place was that real good red oak, and you could sell cross ties and they'd hack them with a broad axe. I don't remember what they'd get for them. Seemed to me like it's 75 cents.
And you also hauled them with your wagon?
Okay. Wasn't any other way to haul them.
And you took them, what, to the railroad?
Yeah, they're Flippin. And cut cedar posts wherever you can find them. There would always be a boxcar. That was before T-post was even began to be made. I don't guess you'd call it invented, but you sell. There was like Benny's dad had a cedar business there in Summit, and he'd always have a couple of boxcars there on the siding at Summit, loading them with cedar posts going to Nebraska and Kansas and Colorado and West Texas, you know, fence posts. And those guys in the West, they like little small posts, about 2 inches, because hell, they never rotted out there in that dry country. Mm-hmm. But I think we got a quarter for the two. I think it finally got to where you get 75 cents maybe for a real good cedar post, but you cut any cedar that was big enough to make cedar posts was immediately cut and hauled to town and sold. There was a cedar yard there that bought them. Well, our old cedar yard there, hell, it's as big as a half a block. He bought a lot of them. I mean, that was after Benny and I got married. But back when I was a kid, we cut cedar posts and hauled them to Flippin. Of course, hauled them with a wagon and a team.
Such a different life back then.
Oh, hell, people don't realize how soft and easy they have it now. Well, I think about, there was a widow lady that had 7 or 8 kids out the road there, and they lived in a little log house with a lean-to. The lean-to is just another room on the back. That was the kitchen. Carried water from a spring down there on the bluff about a quarter of a mile away. How in the hell they even kept clean is beyond me. But I say, I don't remember any kids coming to school, no matter how poor the family was, in dirty clothes. And now you go to Walmart, you see those filthy damn people that hadn't even looked like their hair hadn't been washed, in raggedy ass clothes, and cut off breeches and flip flops. Why hell, you wouldn't even thought about going to town dressed like that back then. God, be an insult to the community.